to the late night edition of my personal knit-a-thon. It is now 4 a.m. here in Texas. It's dark, it's late, but since I am following all the podcasts from Denmark, I feel a little bit like it's morning, just because I see all these well-rested people showing up. So, since we last spoke, my microphone died and it took with it my telephone, which seems both unnecessary and cruel, but all of this just to say that I am working with a slightly different setup here. I am aware that the sound is not the best. I am doing the best I can. We are getting up really close and personal, and I hope that you will be able to hear me. People are getting up over here as well. That is so nice. I hope everyone is having a good time still. I am for sure enjoying myself. I have been trying to rest a couple of times. I have put down my knitting and decided, no, I am going to rest now. And my body is tired, but I'm too happy to sleep. So I guess I'll sleep at some other time. For this episode, I am going to talk about the cat number 2 design because it is now at a point where it makes sense to talk about it. And also, I'm going to talk about adding short rows to patterns, either if you're working a pattern that doesn't come with short rows or if you're doing your own design. Someone emailed me asking about this, and I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to talk about it, both because obviously I worked in short rows in my cat number 2, but also I have 3 sweaters with me here, and they actually have 3 different ways of using short rows. So let's do it. Here she is, my wonderful little cat number 2. There's still work to be done, but I am very happy with how this is working up. Yeah, this is a pretty accurate picture of the colors here. What I wanted with this design was a cute little sweater that I could use for all the Christmas parties and the family events going on throughout December. Thank you, Helle. Thanks. Oh, you're so sweet. Something that was, yeah, cute and that would make me look like I made an effort, but still be super comfortable. I wanted something that I could wear with a tall skirt and some boots, or maybe with a hugely oversized white shirt and some leather leggings, or even just with jeans and strappy sandals. So I wanted something that was relatively short with some positive ease. What I am doing with this is this lace here on the yoke. It is a lace pattern that I have built on top of a twisted rib, so to speak, which means that, of course, the ribbing is gonna pull. Thank you, Susanna. The ribbing is going to pull in the yoke and give it a really nice fit around the shoulders. I am aware that the neckline looks tight right now. It'll relax as soon as the sweater grows. A lot of the weight of the sweater is carried by the neckline. So this is definitely going to grow, but it's not going to be a big neckline. Someone just asked about the gauge for this. It's a 20 stitch gauge. It's worked in this DK weight, single spun merino, alpaca, and silk blend from by Kilarek. And this colorway is called Brand i byen, fire in the city. She has so many different colorways, but I couldn't resist this one for a festive sweater. I thought that was just perfect. After the yoke, there is a lot of, not a lot, but some positive ease built in. I am making this with around 15 centimeters. That is 6 inches of positive ease. So some positive ease, but not a crazy amount. For the body, I'm gonna do some shaping on the body. Some shaping that will pull the back a little forwards and up to create this cute little line of a sweater that is a lot shorter in front. In front, it's only gonna hit, like only just hit my hip bones, but then a lot longer in the back. I did do the same thing on my Aurora, and I will try to see if I can show that. On the Aurora, you have these ribbed panels. And maybe you can see here at the bottom of the body, there are some increases on the front to pull the back forward and a little bit up. And of course, there's also short rows to lower the back. So I'm gonna do some of the same shaping for this, only this is a much shorter fit, so it'll look a little more playful and fun. Thank you. I am really happy with that Aurora. It's, yeah, beautiful, beautiful yarn. I don't know what to do with the sleeves yet. I will need to see where the sweater takes me. Right now, I'm thinking probably skinny sleeves to like pull everything in a little, and also so that I can wear it under a light jacket or blazer or something. It will look great with a pantsuit also. Yeah. But I haven't made a decision for the sleeves yet. That is to be determined. But right now, I am just enjoying knitting around and around and around on this. And obviously, since the yoke's lace pattern goes directly from the neckline ribbing, I did not put in short rows. It would destroy the smoothness of this pattern if I were to put in the short rows up here. So instead, I have placed them here under the lace pattern. I placed 10 sets of short rows here to raise the neck. And as you can see, it's perfectly okay to place them lower on the yoke. I will say that if this lace pattern was twice as long, I am not convinced that I would be able to get the fit that I like for the neckline by adding all of the short rows very low on the yoke. In that case, I would probably go through the trouble of actually working the short rows in pattern. And that is not always easy. It's easy to do because it's quite intuitive. You just have to turn it inside out, purl the knits and knit the pearls, and then you have to mirror it. And that's quite intuitive, but it's a beast to write up in a pattern. So I'm very happy that I could get away with placing all of the short rows after the lace. And this person who wrote me, they asked me, what are the principles when you're adding short rows? Can you just put in the short rows before you start the raglan increases if you're working a raglan sweater? Thank you. Thank you, Gide. I am quite pleased with it. It's nice to get a chance to brag a little about it. I'm quite pleased. If you are working a raglan sweater and you want to add the short rows, of course you can just add them after the neckline ribbing. I will say though that depending on how many sets of short rows you're adding, it might bother you that the raglan seams are not going to go all the way up to the neckline. Let me just show you here on the Aurora. Do you see how the raglan seam here goes all the way up into the neckline ribbing? If I had added a lot of short rows here, that effect would disappear. You can add a couple, that'll be fine, but you can't add like 8 or 10 pairs. Or, of course you can. If it doesn't bother you, all is good. But if you are adding a lot of short rows to a raglan sweater, there's a couple of ways to do it. Also, if you think that it will bother you to have them just sitting there. On the Aurora, thank you, Helle. I really prefer to have the neck raised. It does give a better fit. I'm not too crazy with knits that go up and try to strangle me. But this Aurora is actually a pretty good example of how you can work around short rows in a raglan sweater without having to work the short rows and the raglan increases at the same time. Because of course you can also do that. Then you just need to take some meticulous notes so that you know exactly which increases you did when, and you need to have a plan for how to even them out. Or you have to have a sweater that has a lot of stitches for the front. Then you can just do all your turns here on the front, and then you can of course work your raglan increases because you will be working all 4. But for this one, I also put some of the short rows in the ribbing, which is definitely an option. I wouldn't put all the short rows in the ribbing. I think you would benefit from also having some after the ribbing, but you can add quite a few of your short rows in the ribbing where they do not interfere with your pattern on the yoke. Of course, you have to be mindful if you're doing a twisted rib, or in this case, a rib with a twisted knit stitch. When you're working from the inside, you are going to be purling through the back loop rather than knitting through the back loop. But as long as you're doing that, you are fine with adding the short rows to the ribbing. Another option is, of course, to, as we just spoke about before, add the short rows all the way down after the raglan, but I am not convinced that that is going to give you the freedom around your neck. It's definitely going to raise the back a little, but I don't know that it'll lower the front sufficiently. So that's two different ways of adding short rows, either distributing them over the raglan increases and the ribbing, or having them after your lace work. And then there's the traditional way of doing it, where on this one I have done all of the short rows right after the folded over neckline. And I mean, they're not visible. Of course, you can see that there's more of the main color on the back than on the front, but that does not bother my eye. I don't think it would bother anyone, really, to be honest. Thank you, Annette. That's my cat number 1, the one that I made for the first Knitathon. Yeah. I also made this in a wool cotton blend from Drops, super budget-friendly yarn. And that has actually been getting some wear this summer because it is a cotton wool blend, and I could use it on not too warm summer nights. When adding short rows, there's a number of different ways of doing it, other than the placement, as we have just discussed. My rule of thumb is to look at my stitch count, and that will vary, because if you're lucky and you can do the short rows right after the neckline ribbing, you're not going to be working with a lot of stitches. If you're going further down on the yoke, you will have more purling to do, but still, it's totally worth it. What I will do is I will take the stitch count, and then I will subtract the number of stitches needed for 10, 15, 20 centimeters. So that I will say this, 10, 15, 20 centimeters, depending on the fit that I want, how close fitting I want it, but something like that. That number of stitches I will subtract from my stitch count. And then the rest of the stitches I will be working the short rows over. And the way I do it is I start by working a large number of stitches back and forth, and then I will continue past the stitches already worked, typically 4 or 5 stitches, depending on gauge and again, what I'm aiming for. So let's say, now we're just saying random numbers here. I have 100 stitches for my neckline. I have 20 stitches to 10 centimeters, so I will subtract 30. That gives me 70 stitches that I want to work my short rows over. Now, if I'm gonna knit 5 stitches past my last turn, and I wanna do that 4 times in each side, that is 20 stitches in each side, so that's another 40 stitches I subtract. Then I know I need to start by knitting 30 stitches, 15 knit stitches, turning and purling 30, and then starting to go 5 stitches further for each turn. That would give me a pretty standard short row shaped neckline. If you ever wonder about it, just try to think about how a favorite sweater of yours looks when it's just laying on a table. Wow, do you hear the thunder? Oh, there are some thunderstorms here. Yay, I love thunder. Look at a favorite sweater when it's just laying flat on a table in front of you, and you will be able to see how up here is fewer stitches worked, and the further down you come, the more stitches has been worked. That way it's easy to remember. Some people think that it makes a big difference if you start with a large number of stitches and turn before last turn, or if you start with a smaller number of stitches and turn after the last turn. I haven't checked it, but I'm not sure that it is gonna make the biggest difference, because what you're doing, I mean, I can see why you would think that you're like pushing the shape, but what you're basically doing is just creating more fabric. I don't know. If anyone knows, please let me know, because I don't think it makes a lot of a difference. On my Ask Me Anything episode, I forgot the giveaway, which means that I now have 2 prizes to give away for this episode. That's just wonderful. I have something to look forward to before we talk again at 8 o'clock. How many stitches would you work over if you do the short rows under the arms? I actually think I would go by the same ratio, because regardless of you're working up here or down here, you want to achieve the same thing. You want to add extra fabric the same places. But I don't know, after you separate for the arm, I don't know that you're really gonna affect this part. Definitely you're gonna affect the neck, you're gonna raise the neck, and you're gonna make your sweater longer. You are creating more fabric on the back, but I don't know that it will pull down the front sufficiently. But at least if I was working them on this one right before the separation of the sleeves, I would do the same thing. I would say, okay, these stitches in the middle, I'm not gonna work. All the rest of them, I am gonna work my short rows over. So that would be some pretty long short rows, but you know, you will do whatever to achieve a perfect fit, right? Rather pull a gazillion stitches and end up with a sweater that just fits you. Can I explain in Danish? Of course I can. You know what? If you stick around, as soon as we're done with this, I will just repeat everything in Danish. No problem. I'm sorry if I'm distracted. I am facing the window and it is just pouring down. It's beautiful. Well, that's true. You can do some short rows in front to allow extra fabric. If you have a larger bust, you can actually do, like when you're sewing, you're putting in these darts. You can do exactly the same in your knitting, especially if you're making something that's really form-fitting, then it's nice to do that. Often I will also, in many of my patterns, have more stitches for the front than for the back, because most women are larger measuring here than measuring over the back. Yeah, of course I'll show the cat number 2 again. And yes, it is perfect knitting weather. Here she is. I will show her anytime. I am so pleased with how this is working up. And yeah, I am loving this color. It is way out of my comfort zone. But my Aurora, my orange Aurora is too. So maybe I am ready for something that is not gray or black or white or brown. Maybe I can add in a few extra colors in my wardrobe. Let's talk prices, because there are some amazing prices here. One of them is only for viewers in Europe, and that is because of shipping costs. And yeah, so, but if you're in Europe, or if you know someone in Europe that we can ship the price to, you can enter to win 4 skeins of this single and fabulous base from by Killerek in a colorway of your choice. Now, I would definitely, of course, recommend this one. But she has gorgeous colorways. Someone just asked how much yarn I'm gonna use. I think maybe I'm gonna get away with only using 3 skeins, because with all of this, let me show you what I have left of this 3 skeins that I caked up. This is almost a full skein. I just broke into that. And then I have all of this left also. So I actually think that I'm gonna get away with 3 skeins in my size, which is a 110 centimeters bust circumference. So with 4 skeins, I think you can make probably almost all of the sizes. So that is an amazing price. Henriette has been very, very generous to donate such a lovely price for us. So this is, and yeah, I am sorry, it is only shipped within Europe. So if you are in Europe, or if you know someone in Europe that we can ship it to, then you can enter to win this prize. Now we'll talk about how we do that later. The other prize is also amazing, because people are just so generous. Look here, Malene, Knitwear by Maki, who makes gorgeous project bags. She made this one black, and it looks like it's some corduroy. She also added a set of stitch markers and the pattern for her Christmas sweater. Just take a look at that sweater. Isn't it beautiful? So this is the other prize, and that we are able to ship all over. So what you need to do to enter for one of these prizes is, like with the other episodes, comment on this episode as soon as it is up on YouTube. What happens when I stop the live stream is that YouTube instantly starts processing the recording, and it will appear on my channel typically within minutes, but sometimes it can take up to 10 minutes before it appears. But be patient. Go in and tell me, what time is it where you are? Are you a night owl, an early bird, or what time is it where you are knitting? Yeah, it is gorgeous prizes, and I am very, very grateful for the makers who have donated all their beautiful things to this knit-a-thon. It is a pleasure to be able to give away those prizes. I can't wait to draw the winners. I am gonna announce them in the last episode. I will be back here in, what, 3.5 hours to close the knit-a-thon. And by that time, I will have drawn the winners from the comment sections of the finished videos for this knitathon. So I think that was all that I had for this episode. I am going to repeat the instructions for the short rows in Danish now. So if you're not a Danish speaker, or if you or have no interest in the repetition, then I will just say thank you for joining in, and I hope that I will see you again at 8 when we end this knitathon. And if you understand Danish, there is one last podcast for this knitathon. It's at 6 o'clock. It's in an hour and a half. Henriette is gonna go live, strikke sludder. Wow, someone celebrated Henriette there. She's gonna go live at 6, and then I will be back at 8, announcing winners and closing this knitathon. So, bye for now. Og så tager vi den der bare på dansk. Det var super godt lige at spørge, fordi det kan vi lige så godt, nu vi er her, og vi har gang i hele setup'et. Der var simpelthen en, der skrev og spurgte mig, hvis man gerne vil lave venderækker i nakken, enten på sit eget design, eller hvis man arbejder ud fra en opskrift, som ikke har det, hvad er det så for principper, man følger? Og hun spørger sådan også direkte, kan man tilføje venderækker, inden man går til raglandudtagninger? Og mit svar på det er, at det kan du teknisk set sagtens. Altså det er der intet som helst i vejen for, men afhængigt af, hvor mange venderækker du tilføjer, så kan det være, at det vil genere dig, altså som I kan se her, der kan man sådan ligesom se, at raglandsømmen her går direkte op i ribben. Det vil jo blive mindre tydeligt, hvis der er en hel masse venderækker imellem. Der er masser af mine sweatre, hvor det er lavet sådan, og det generer mig ikke det fjerneste. Men hvis man tænker, at det kunne være noget, der generede, så vil jeg foreslå, at man bruger nogle af de andre løsninger. Og dem har vi selvfølgelig nogle af. Den første er nok den mest korrekte, det er også den mest besværlige, men det er simpelthen at lave raglandudtagningerne i venderækkerne. Og hvis det skal gøres sådan helt 100% korrekt, så er der jo nogle af dem, der skal laves fra vrangsiden, og så skal man lige huske, hvordan det er, man får en vrangmaske til at hælde til henholdsvis højre og venstre. Men det kan sagtens lade sig gøre. Der er ikke noget svært i det overhovedet. Det jeg vil sige, det er, at man skal lige huske at tage nogle notater, så man hele tiden får skrevet ned, hvilke af de 4 raglandssømme, man har fået lavet, hvor mange udtagninger på. Og så skal man have en eller anden form for plan for, hvordan man så får tilføjet, hvis der er nogle af de forreste, man ikke får lavet i processen, hvordan man så får dem tilføjet. Man kan også på en sweater som denne her, hvor der er sat ret mange masker fra til forstykket, kan man faktisk gøre det, at man laver en del venderækker inde på selve forstykket, sådan så man laver alle 4 raglandudtagninger, og så bare vender, når man er kommet ind på forstykket. Det kan man også sagtens lade sig gøre. På denne her har jeg også lagt nogle af venderækkerne i halsribben. Det kan man også sagtens. Jeg er ikke bumsikker på, at man vil kunne lægge alle venderækkerne i en ribkant. Især hvis det er en lidt kortere ribkant, altså hvis det er en kort ribkant, som på denne her, så tror jeg altså også, det kunne komme til at se lidt pudsigt ud, hvis nakken var dobbelt så høj som ribkanten foran. Men man kan sagtens lave en kombination af de forskellige placeringer. Man kan også, i princippet i hvert fald, det har jeg ikke selv prøvet, men man kan jo i princippet vente med at lægge venderækkerne ind, til man har skilt fra til ærmer, sådan så man er helt ude over raglandproblemet. Jeg er ikke helt sikker på, det var noget af det, vi talte om, i hvor høj grad det vil sænke her fortil. Altså, det vil jo selvfølgelig gøre ryggen længere, men jeg er ikke helt sikker på, hvor fri man vil føle sig i halsen, hvis alle vendepindene ligger helt nede efter, at man har skilt fra til ærmer. Så nogen af jer, der har prøvet det, må I meget gerne lade mig det vide, fordi det vil jo være en super nem måde at gøre det på, når man har med de her mønstrede bærestykker at gøre. På min kat nummer 2 her, der har jeg jo valgt at lægge, nu skal I lige se, om jeg kan, sådan der. Der har jeg valgt at lægge vendepindene nede under hulmønstret. Fordi at det her hulmønster, det er jo faktisk ribben fra halskanten, der fortsætter ned. Så det ville se forstyrrende ud, hvis der kom nogle venderækker der. Der har jeg valgt at lægge dem hernede, efter at jeg var færdig med at strikke hulmønstret. Og princippet er fuldstændig det samme, uanset om de ligger heroppe eller længere nede, eller om de ligger i ribkanten. Det princip, jeg følger, den tommelfingerregel, jeg følger, det er, at jeg siger, at jeg vil have et eller andet sted imellem 10 og 20 cm her. 10-15 nok. Centimeter her foran, som jeg ikke strikker hen over. Det skal simpelthen være det laveste punkt. Og så strikker jeg hen over alle de andre masker. Jeg kom lige med et hurtigt eksempel, hvor jeg bare sad og smed nogle tal ud, og jeg kunne godt høre, da jeg sad og sagde dem, at det var ikke rigtigt tal, der duede til noget. Jeg skal lige høre, hvad Trine skriver her. Ja, ved du hvad, det der med striber, hvor man lige lægger en vendepind per stribe, det synes jeg altså også godt, man kan. Jeg har blandt andet gjort det på mine scrappy triangles, fordi jeg gerne ville have lidt længde på ryggen. Selve scrappy stribermønstret er der jo vendepinde op i den første stribe, men jeg vil også gerne have lidt længde nede på ryggen. Og der gør jeg bare det, en enkelt pind i hver stribe, og det synes jeg ikke. Det er ikke sådan, at man kigger på den og tænker, gud, de er da virkelig ujævne, de striber. Det synes jeg i hvert fald ikke. Men hvis man vil lægge dem heroppe, så er min tommelfingerregel, at sådan et eller andet sted mellem 10 og 20 cm her midt foran, dem strikker jeg ikke på. Alle de andre arbejder jeg henover. Og hvis vi nu siger, at jeg har 100 masker. Jeg har 100 masker, når jeg strikker min ribkant. Nu skal jeg til at lave nogle vendepinde. Jeg har en strikkefasthed på 20 masker på 10 cm. Det har jeg meget tit, også på den her. Så hvis jeg gerne vil have 15 cm her foran, jamen så er det jo 30 masker, jeg skal trække fra de 100, jeg har totalt. Det vil sige, at jeg har 70 masker, jeg skal strikke vendepinde henover. Jeg gør som regel det, at jeg strikker et antal masker, og så strikker jeg 4-5 masker forbi den sidste vending. Der er nogen, der gør det omvendt, at de strikker alle maskerne først, og så vender de før den sidste vending. Jeg er ikke overbevist om, at det gør den helt store forskel. Altså, jeg er med på, at det vil jo give en bue enten den ene eller den anden vej, men jeg tror altså, at strikkens natur er jo at være enormt eftergivende. Det er jo ikke et fast og rigidt materiale, vi skaber, så jeg tror egentlig mere, at man skal tænke på det som, at man tilføjer mere materiale på ryggen. Men jeg gør det i hvert fald på den måde. Det gør jeg, fordi jeg kigger på, hvordan ser det ud, hvis du syr en halsudskæring. Jamen, der har du mindre stof her, og du får mere og mere stof, jo længere ned du kommer. Så i eksemplet med de 100 masker, jeg ville trække 30 masker fra, som jeg slet ikke ville arbejde på. Så havde jeg 70 tilbage. Hvis nu jeg siger, at jeg gerne ville vende 4 gange i hver side, og gøre det hen over 5 masker hver gang, så er det jo 20 masker i hver side. Så jeg trækker 40 fra de 70, så har jeg 30 masker tilbage. Så jeg ville simpelthen i tilfældet med 100 masker og 20 masker på 10 cm, det vil sige, at jeg skulle strikke 15 ret, vende, strikke 30 vrang, vende, og så skulle jeg strikke 5 masker forbi sidste vending, indtil jeg havde lavet alle mine vendepinde. Ej, ved du hvad, jeg nåede ikke at se, der var en af jer, der skrev noget om Margrethe, der havde forklaret et eller andet. Gider du eventuelt at skrive det igen? Fordi jeg nåede lige præcis ikke at se det. Men ja, selvfølgelig vil jeg da forklare det på dansk også. Det er bare hyggeligt, at der er nogen, der gider at høre, når man nørder strik. Jeg kunne snakke om strik døgnet rundt. Jeg håber, I har... Tak. Selvfølgelig er der mere komfortabel, når jeg er på dansk. Det siger sig selv. Det er mit modersmål. Det andet er noget tillært. At han og Jette mig ud på terrassen. Har I fantastisk vejr derhjemme? Dansk efterår, det er det smukkeste. Vil I love mig, I nyder det? Kys det hele fra mig. Og så ses vi igen, når klokken er blevet 8 herovre. Det er, når den er 3 hos jer. Og så tænker jeg, at vi også ses inde hos Henriette, må ikke? Hun er på om 1 time og 20 minutter. Hej så længe.